What if I told you the strange little things your loved one does when they think no one's watching? Those habits you once brushed off as quirks might actually be early cries for help from a struggling brain. It may sound unsettling, but here's a science-backed truth. More than 60% of people later diagnosed with dementia were found to exhibit bizarre, unexplained behaviors in private, long before anyone realized something was wrong. We're not talking about the obvious signs like forgetting names or losing track of time. These early changes are far more subtle, and they often surface when the person is alone. Moments that seem odd, but not alarming enough to raise concern, until they escalate. Why? Because dementia doesn't begin with memory loss. It starts by disrupting the brain's control center, areas that manage judgment, control impulses, and interpret what's real and what's not. This breakdown leads to unusual, sometimes eerie behaviors that are deeply out of character. And tragically, because they happen behind closed doors, they go unnoticed, or worse, misunderstood as personality changes or age-related eccentricity. But here's the powerful part, and your window of opportunity. Spotting these behaviors early could be the key to preserving a loved one's independence, memory, and quality of life. Medical intervention in the early stages can slow the progression, provide mental clarity, and offer support before the disease takes a stronger hold. So if you've ever caught yourself thinking, that's odd, but maybe it's just a phase, don't ignore it, because what you see as odd could be your only warning. But before we dive in, I'd love to know, where are you tuning in from today? Leave a comment below with your city or country. I always enjoy seeing where everyone's watching from. It creates a sense of connection, no matter how far apart we may be. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more wellness tips like these. Let's now uncover 7 eerie but science-backed behaviors that were often dismissed, until families discovered they were the first signs of dementia. Behavior number 1, laughing or giggling at nothing. At first glance, it might even seem charming. But when it happens again and again, with no context, it becomes unsettling. Sheila, 75, would sometimes giggle quietly while folding laundry or rinse dishes with a small smile on her face. Her husband figured she was reminiscing or daydreaming. But one day, he walked into the living room to find her standing in front of a blank wall, laughing uncontrollably. Concerned, he asked gently, "Sheila, what's so funny?" She pointed to the empty chair and said, "That lady told the funniest story." But there was no lady. There was no chair. As dementia progresses, particularly in conditions like frontotemporal dementia or Alzheimer's, the brain loses its ability to regulate emotional responses. The parts of the brain responsible for social inhibition and emotional filtering, like the frontal lobes, begin to deteriorate. This leads to emotional disinhibition, inappropriate laughter, tears, or fear with no clear trigger. In some cases, visual or auditory hallucinations may occur, as the brain misinterprets shadows, light, or even silence as something meaningful. To the outside world, it may look like they're laughing at nothing, but in their reality, something is happening, something emotionally powerful enough to trigger laughter. That's why a simple giggle can be a profound neurological warning sign. Behavior number 2, watching static or a blank screen for hours. This one is especially haunting. 2 years before his Alzheimer's diagnosis, 80-year-old Steve developed a nightly habit that deeply puzzled his family. After dinner, he would settle into his recliner, turn on the television, and leave it on a blank, static-filled screen. No program, no sound, just a flickering glow dancing across the room. At first, his family thought it was an oversight. Maybe he forgot how to use the remote. Maybe the TV was broken. But when someone tried to change the channel, Steve would gently stop them and say, "Shh, I'm watching." One evening, they found him smiling and clapping at the static, whispering, "They did a good job tonight." That was the moment they realized this wasn't just forgetfulness. It was something far deeper. In the early stages of Alzheimer's, the brain's ability to distinguish between imagination and external reality begins to break down. A blank screen becomes a kind of mental canvas, an open field for the brain to project imaginary scenes, voices, or narratives that feel entirely real to the person experiencing them. This doesn't mean your loved one is hallucinating in the way we often think of it. Instead, their brain is filling in sensory gaps with internal content, because the normal visual processing and contextual awareness systems are beginning to fail. It's a chilling insight into how dementia alters perception. Not just what they remember, but how they see the world. Behavior number 3. Hiding rotten food or trash in strange places. Jane, a retired teacher known for her spotless home, began behaving in ways that horrified her family. Her son discovered moldy food stashed in strange places. Behind curtains, in dresser drawers, under stacks of clean towels. She'd say, "Oh, I must have meant to clean that up later." But it kept happening. Memory decline mixed with loss of judgment, and a dulled sense of smell causes people with dementia to forget food is perishable, or that it was hidden at all. Sometimes, a subconscious fear of waste or running out leads to hoarding behavior, even if it's rotting. These patterns are especially tragic because they often stay hidden, until the smell, or a dangerous hygiene issue, brings it to light. Behavior number 4. Setting traps around the house. Imagine this. 77-year-old Amara, a widow living alone, began arranging household objects like weapons of defense. Canned goods stacked in front of doors. Strings tied from doorknobs to furniture. Foil tucked under rugs like hidden sensors. Brooms lodged in hallways as improvised alarms. Her daughter gently asked, "Why are you doing this?" Amara gave vague answers, or avoided the question entirely. At first, the family chalked it up to anxiety or too many crime shows. But it escalated. One day, a neighbor tripped over a hidden trap, and Amara, convinced she was under attack, tried to call 911. What's happening neurologically? Dementia can activate fear circuits in the brain, particularly in isolated individuals. The brain begins misinterpreting ordinary events as threats. These home defenses are not paranoia. They are manifestations of a brain in survival mode, misfiring signals and overreacting to imagined danger. Behavior number 5. Smearing lotion or cream on odd surfaces. Meet 72-year-old William. Long before his dementia diagnosis, his wife began noticing something off. He was applying hand cream to door handles, furniture legs, even electronic devices. His reasoning? It keeps the surface clean, it protects us. It might seem harmless, until one day, she found him smearing toothpaste on the bathroom window to block a signal. As dementia takes hold of the prefrontal cortex, which governs logic and task sequencing, a familiar action, like using lotion, can become disconnected from its purpose. The behavior remains, but the context disappears. In an attempt to make sense of it, the brain invents explanations, no matter how illogical. Behavior number 6. Writing mysterious notes or warning lists. This behavior often unfolds like the beginning of a mystery novel, except it's not fiction. It's the real, unraveling mind of someone you love. Toby's daughter noticed post-it notes appearing around the house. At first, they were harmless reminders. Lock the door. Turn off the stove. But soon, they became more ominous. Don't trust the man in the yard. Check the shadows before going to bed. And one day, she found a full-page note taped inside the fridge that read, "They come at night. Stay quiet. Don't move." This wasn't careful caution. It was fear and confusion, seeping through a mind no longer able to separate reality from fiction. In more advanced stages of dementia, especially in Lewy body dementia or frontotemporal dementia, the brain starts losing its ability to correct false perceptions, reacting to normal sounds or light patterns as threats, generating delusional thinking as a way to cope with sensory confusion. The act of writing notes becomes a way to impose order on an increasingly chaotic world. For the person living with dementia, these warnings feel urgent and true, even if they seem bizarre to others. These writings are not nonsense. They're the last threads of a person trying to stay in control, trying to make sense of a reality that's no longer predictable. And tragically, many families dismiss them as eccentric or even creative thinking, until the paranoia deepens. Behavior number 7. Rearranging furniture at night. At first, this may seem like a harmless quirk, something you might associate with sleeplessness or late-night tidying. But beneath the surface, it could be an unsettling symptom of early cognitive decline. Take the case of 69-year-old Billy. Her son began noticing that each morning, furniture had been subtly but consistently moved. Dining chairs pressed firmly against the front and back doors. The coffee table shifted into odd positions, partly blocking the hallway. Lamps unplugged. Curtains drawn at odd hours. There were no signs of break-ins and no known cause for alarm. Yet each morning, the house felt off. Then one night at 3 a.m., a neighbor phoned an alarm. Billy was outside, barefoot in her pajamas, dragging patio furniture into the middle of the street. When confronted, she appeared disoriented and defensive. Her only explanation? They needed to be moved. I didn't feel safe. What was dismissed as quirky behavior turned out to be a neurological red flag. Nighttime furniture rearranging is more than restlessness. It's often tied to 3 core neurological disruptions that happen in the early stages of dementia. 1. Spatial disorientation. Dementia affects the parietal and hippocampal regions of the brain, which help us understand space, layout, and navigation. Billy may no longer feel that her home is familiar. The furniture becomes confusing, misplaced, threatening, or simply wrong. So she rearranges it in an attempt to restore order, safety, or control. 2. Circadian rhythm breakdown. As dementia progresses, circadian rhythms, your brain's internal sleep-wake clock, begin to malfunction. This leads to a condition known as sundowning, where symptoms like anxiety, confusion, and fear intensify at dusk or during the night. In this vulnerable state, the brain becomes hyperalert to shadows, creaks, or silence. And because logic and memory are impaired, these signals are misinterpreted as danger. 3. Fight or flight mode triggered by the amygdala. The amygdala, which regulates fear and emotional processing, can become hyperactive. What you're seeing is a person's brain trying to defend itself. Not from a real intruder, but from imagined threats their mind can't untangle from reality. So when a loved one moves a chair, blocks a hallway, or stacks objects against a door, they may truly believe they're protecting themselves from an unseen threat. These seemingly minor acts, stacking cushions, shifting tables, moving objects at odd hours, are the brain's subtle cry for help. That's why it's so important to take action when you spot these signs. Here's how. What you can do today. 1. Trust your instincts. If something feels off, don't ignore it. Behavioral changes, especially strange ones at night, are often the earliest signs of neurodegeneration. 2. Start a behavior log. Write down every unusual incident. Note the time, what happened, and your loved one's response. These records will become essential during medical consultations. 3. Schedule a cognitive evaluation. A neurological exam or memory assessment can detect dementia in its early stages, when interventions are most effective. Don't wait for a crisis like wandering or injury. 4. Modify the environment for safety. Remove tripping hazards. Install motion sensor night lights. Secure exits in a non-restrictive way. Consider discreet monitoring for overnight safety. 5. Seek support immediately. Join a dementia caregiver support group, online or in person. Learn from others who've walked this path. You're not alone, and the earlier you get support, the better the outcome for everyone involved. What may look like harmless quirks, like talking to a blank screen, laughing at empty walls, or silently rearranging furniture in the middle of the night, might actually be whispers from a brain in distress. Dementia doesn't arrive all at once. It creeps in quietly, altering behavior long before memory loss becomes obvious. These strange, often overlooked signs aren't random. They're your loved one's neurological distress signals, blinking like warning lights, if only we know how to read them. But here's the empowering truth. Catching these early behaviors can buy time. Time for treatment. Time for support. Time to preserve dignity, independence, and connection. Because every day you wait, the disease moves forward. But every step you take now, no matter how small, can make a life-changing difference. If any of these behaviors felt uncomfortably familiar, don't ignore it. Talk to your doctor. Schedule a cognitive evaluation. Start documenting what you observe. And most importantly, start the conversation with your family, with caregivers, with professionals. Have you seen anything like this in someone you love? Drop your story in the comments below. Your insight could be the wake-up call another family desperately needs. Like this video if you found it helpful. Subscribe to Healthy Life for more life-saving insights on brain health, aging, and preventative care. Share this with a friend or family member, because awareness could be the key that protects someone else's future. Together, we can catch the signs early, take action sooner, and protect the minds and memories that matter most. Until next time, stay informed, stay compassionate, and take care of each other. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.